and welcome back to the Inner Image podcast, where we talk about the character traits of the Proverbs 31 woman and all things related to womanhood. I'm your host, Andrea John. And if you're a longtime listener, you know that I've been away for a few weeks. If you're new, welcome. I don't even think I should apologize for missing some episodes, although I know sometimes it can be a little disappointing, but life has been lifing and not in the bad way. It's been all good things. It's just been busy. And I'm sure that you've been busy as well. We just recently got through a holiday. I hope that you got to enjoy it, maybe spend some time with family. I know that I took 2 weeks off of all types of work, including ministry. I definitely needed the break. It was very much needed. And I recommend that everyone do that every once in a while. Today, we were going to have a podcast with a very special guest, Sonia, and we were going to talk about being proactive. She is just one of those girl bosses for sure. But right before we were about to get together, she got a call and she had to run off because there was an emergency. She is a business owner. So, hopefully we'll have her back soon, but I did want to have an episode out there. So I took I took a look at the list of character traits and I thought, okay, which is a trait that I would definitely be willing to do on my own because I'm very passionate about it. And instantly it just popped out. Integrity. We're going to talk about integrity today. For those people who know me intimately, they know integrity is huge for me. I don't really know why. I think it's because of my past and some of the things that I've gone through. Being around situations where you have been deceived, there has been hypocrisy, living a lie for so long. Integrity is something that I'm extremely passionate about on all fronts, especially when it comes to business. I know that every business that I am a part of, integrity is definitely at the top of the list in terms of values. I value it a lot. And today, I would love to talk to you about it because I really believe it is so foundational and something that we need to become, not just do. I think if we really have to force ourselves to be integral, which means whole, then we're not, because it should just be so instinctive. So I would love to talk to you about this topic today, just share my thoughts about it. Now, I just mentioned the word integral, right? Because it's a form of the word integrity. And I speak Portuguese fluently. So if nobody knows this, my first language was Portuguese. I've lost a little bit of it in recent years just because I don't speak. I wouldn't say I lost it. I'm just not as comfortable with it and I forget words and all of that stuff. But there are certain words that come from the Latin language that I am very familiar with, where an American or English speaking person, it may not be a normal word that they use, but because it's a word I would use in Portuguese that comes from the Latin, I am more familiar than, let's say, a typical English speaking person in the United States. So the word integral to me, when I think of that word because of Portugal, I'm thinking of whole, complete. And that is exactly what the word integrity is translated from Hebrew. The Hebrew word for integrity is actually wholeness. Isn't that crazy? And wholeness is a topic that we have. We need to be complete and undivided. This isn't about being perfect. Okay? So you know that verse that tells us be perfect as he is perfect? When you look at the word, the original word, it's not perfect in the sense of flawless. It's perfect in the sense of wholeness. And being whole just means you're complete. And being complete doesn't always mean perfect. Think about, have you ever seen those Japanese mugs that are broken and then the cracks are filled in with gold? I love it because it's such a true representation of what happens when life may bring us down and we may get cracks and we may fall away. We may make mistakes. We may get dirty. Like I always talk about being a diamond. So I have the diamond here, right? So our diamonds may get dirty. It may get cracked from life. And I know some of us have different life experiences than others. But the reality is, we're always still a diamond. We may just have to get fixed up. We may have to get cleaned up. But the diamond is always there. And that's, if I were to say, like, if there's one thing that I always want you to remember from what I teach, is this: it's that you were born a diamond, and life and the pressures of life underground may have been heavy, may have been hard, may have filled you up with soot, may be dirty, but you're still the diamond. And it just requires some cleaning off when you come up out of that pressure. Just got to clean yourself off. You will shine. You will shine. Even if you're a little dirty, the diamond shines. Okay. So I just want you to always remember that. And I always will bring up the diamond because I just think it's such a great analogy. And I believe that we're all born with integrity. We're all born in wholeness. We're all born in God's image. But like I said, life and the pressures of life, the pressures of sin around us may cause us to get filthy and dirty and crack and all that stuff. But what Jesus came for is to clean us up, to give us the ability to shine the way we were designed to shine. So I'm going to ask you a question. Have you ever noticed yourself acting a little differently depending on who you're around? Maybe you're one way at work, and then you have the church person when you're in ministry, or you have another version when you're with your family. So usually when you're home with your family, that's probably your most authentic self. And how about online? Who are you online? How do you behave online versus in person? How do you behave with your family when you're in church versus out of church, or in public versus in private? It's a really loaded question, I know. And I don't ask you that so that you can feel guilty, because I'm asking this question. All, we all right now in this moment are probably thinking the same thing. And we're probably analyzing all similar things. I don't think that most of us, I don't think most of us are doing it because we want to be fake. I think we do it because somewhere along the way we learned that certain versions of ourselves is safer than others. And we're always wanting to belonging. There's three things that humans need. And I'm not talking about shelter, water, and food. I'm talking about love, safety, and belonging. So do you change who you are when you're trying to be loved, to belong, or to feel safe within the groups of people that you are? Who are you? Maybe there's this group that likes that funny version of you, but another group, you're like, oh, I need to tone it down. I need to be quiet, and somewhere in your past, you learned that showing your emotions to every group or to every person wasn't safe, or asking questions. For me, I'm a big question asker. It's not safe. Some people get offended by questions, or disagreeing with someone isn't safe. And that's something that we see in the world today. It's so polarized. And unfortunately, I'm going to bring it up. Politics has informed our culture in such a way that it has divided us to the point where we're unable to disagree with one another. So we have to pretend. We don't have to. We feel like we have to pretend. We don't realize we're doing it, but we're editing ourselves. And eventually, it's possible that you get to a version of you that you don't even know who you are. And I guess that's why integrity is such a big topic for me, because when I lived the life I lived for 10 to 12 years in my past relationship, I did lose myself. I didn't know who I was. I definitely played it safe because I had to, in order to just live every day. And I got to a point where I didn't know who I was anymore. I knew I had lost myself. There's a song by Sarah Bareilles that's called She Used to Be Mine. And there was a time in my life, like when I was going through the darkest period of my life, that song was on repeat. And every once in a while, to be honest, I put it on because it brings me back to that place. And when I put it on now, I really put it on because I don't ever want to forget what it was like to be there. Not for me, because I'm glad I'm not there anymore, but for all of you, because there is no doubt in my mind that there's people out there in that same place that I was back then. And the song is basically about, like, you know, who I am. She used to be mine, but I don't even know who I am now. Like, I can't be myself. I'm not perfect. Sometimes I fib a little bit. Sometimes, I'm kind. And I mean, you should go listen to the song. I'll put a link in the show notes below. It's from a movie. I can't remember the name of the movie right now, but that song had such an impact because I related to it so much. And, maybe that's you right now. And I just hope that that song brings you a little bit of comfort, because the reality is that you are still there. Who you are, remember that diamond? You are still there. And if you're just listening on the podcast, we're on YouTube now as well, but I have a huge diamond in my hand. I love this diamond. Maybe I'll put a picture on YouTube as well so you guys can see what I'm holding up, but you are that diamond. And one of the biggest themes throughout my own life, which is why I'm so passionate about it, why I have inner image and all the things that I do, really has been identity. And if you've been following me for a while through podcasts and social media, you know how much I work to help people understand that they're made in the image and likeness of God, because that changes everything. It changed everything for me. And it didn't require me to do anything. It didn't require me to change anything. It was just an understanding. It was just a revelation. And that revelation automatically caused a chain of events that changed everything in my life. So even though the circumstances in my life didn't necessarily change right away, who I was did change, because now I knew that I was created in his image, and it caused me to show up differently in the world, and I made better decisions. It's like everything else that we're talking about, with integrity. Integrity is not something that we have to manufacture. It's our manufacture setting. Like, it's already there. It's just something that we need to return to. And when I learned this, like I said, I didn't have to change anything to realize this. I realized this. I had this revelation. And then it was like light bulb. Oh, let's go back to the manufacturer settings. It's already there. I don't need to try to be it. I don't need to try to live with integrity. I already am integrity. And all I need to do is look at God, keep my eyes on there, and it'll just come. You know what integrity reminds me of? Your phone. So bear with me. Imagine your phone had different operating systems all trying to run at the same time. Okay, so I mean, this can get a little technical, so hopefully you understand what I'm saying. So, you have these like multiple operating systems on your phone, and one's saying go left and the other one's saying go right, and one keeps freezing and another one keeps crashing. Maybe this has even happened to your computer. You know, eventually nothing works. But it's not because the phone is broken, it's because it's divided. It's got too many directions. It doesn't know where it's going. And in the end, it's just exhausting. It's pulled us in 10 different directions, trying to be everything for everyone. And then we wonder why we don't have peace, or we don't know how to make decisions, or it's difficult to make decisions. Integrity is like running on one operating system. Everything begins to work together. The mind, the body, the spirit, your purpose, your values, your actions, they all speak the same language. You're not fighting against yourself. I feel like there was so much time in my life that I was fighting against. Every part of me was trying to go in a different direction, and for all different reasons. And it was just so exhausting. And that's why I spent so many years really learning who God was, because I had the revelation that I was made in his image. So if I'm made in his image, then that's my manufacturer setting. That's who I need to become. So it's not about me finding myself. It's about me discovering who God is and simply living like him, reflecting like a diamond. Light reflects the diamond. I'm just reflecting light. That's all I have to do. And it's in me. Like he created me with that. Think about Jesus. I always think about Jesus. He's the man. I love Jesus on so many levels. I could talk about him like forever. He is the best human who is God. I know he was God, but he was also human, and because of that, I have this admiration for him. Like, he's just beautiful. But was there ever a moment Jesus wasn't himself? He wasn't one person with the disciples and then another person with the Pharisees. And then when he was with little kids, he was one way. And then when he was talking to God, he'd speak in a whole different way, a whole different dialect. Think about, I have a pet peeve with preachers who they talk one way, and then the minute they hit the pulpit and start preaching, it's like a whole different person. It's a pet peeve of mine, and I understand why it happens, but why? Why do we do that? Why can't we be the same person behind the microphone on a pulpit as we are when we're surrounded by our family and friends? He was always Jesus. He always looked like God. He was the visible expression of God. He was consistent. He was whole. That's integrity. And why was he able to live that way? Because he knew exactly who he was. How many times did Jesus reiterate who he was? Jesus knew that he was the Son of God. He knew exactly who he was. He didn't question it. And everything that he did and he said flowed from that place. Think about him saying, "Everything I say comes from the Father." It wasn't something he had to try to do. He just did it because he knew who the Father was. It was his Father. And he was looking at him and focusing on him all the time. If you're like me, that's why I struggled with integrity, not because we're bad or we're hypocrites. I really think it was motivated by fear, being afraid. You know, fear divides us, it confuses us. It's not based on truth at all. And there was so much time in my life where I made so many decisions in my life based out of fear. And now every decision I have to make, it's kind of crazy, but it's my thermostat. Where is the fear? Because if I'm going to make a decision in fear, I'm going to do the opposite thing. I'm doing that right now with a business that I'm starting. It scares, as they say, the bejesus out of me, but I'm not motivated by fear. And when I sense fear and I sense that fear is trying to stop me from doing something, it's almost like the indication, the green light, no, go ahead and do it. Because if fear is trying to stop you, then there's probably something beautiful on the other side. There were so many times decisions that I did were made by people pleasing, which is why when we're with different groups, we behave different ways because we're trying to please people. I, I was a runner. I am a runner. I don't think I'll ever lose that. But I was part of a community. And one of the things I started noticing was that when I was with these people, I always felt like I couldn't really be myself. Although on the surface, and when I was with them, they were always lovely people. This is why I don't always like to follow people on social media, because at times who people really are is revealed on social media. When people are behind the screen, I feel like they're much more empowered to do and say things that they wouldn't do in front of a person. And I started to feel like I couldn't be myself around these people. And I just separated myself from it. Another thing that divides us as a human, like something that would divide me, is comparison, for especially for performative sake. You know, comparison is the thief of joy. And you will never know who you are truly when you're comparing yourself to someone else. You know, let's say I have a ministry or a calling similar to someone else. For example, there are certain motivational, very influential and popular people that I follow that I feel like uh I, I'm drawn to follow them and listen to them, not only because the topics they speak about are things I'm passionate about, but in some ways, I feel like I am, my calling is similar to theirs. What's not similar to theirs is their influence, specific niches, things like that. So I don't compare myself in terms of, oh, how many followers do I have? Or I don't try to speak like them or do everything like them. I appreciate what they teach. I take what's good. I learn from them and then I apply it, but I don't change who I am at the core. I don't try to be them because I'm not going to be. I've even had people who I love so dearly compare me to other people in ways like, why are you not like such and such person? Because, obviously there's some sin in your life or whatever the case is. And I instantaneously knew that came from the pit of hell, because what that does is it causes me to question who God designed me to be when I know who God made me to be. And I am not made to be in the image of so and so person. I'm made to be in the image of God. And He made me and designed me. If we're looking at the video, like the diamond, let's say God is the diamond. I'm a facet of the diamond. I can't try to be the facet on the left side if I'm supposed to be the facet on the bottom. Because if I try to be this facet, I'm not going to shine as brightly because I'm trying to be someone I'm not. And the light God wants me to shine is on the bottom face, not on the left side face. So it's important for you to shine to your max, you have to know who you are, made in God's image, know why he's designed you a certain way, what your purpose is. And in order to do that, it's so important for you to be whole and to understand that. I talk about Galatians 1:10 quite a lot, or I don't talk about it a lot. I mention it all the time. I'm like, I'll end things with Galatians 1:10. And it's actually a verse that I didn't know about until about 10 years ago, when someone who I was working with, she had this project and she looked at me and said, "When I look at you, I think Galatians 1:10." And it hit me because at that time in my life was when I had the revelation that I made in the image of God, and I was trying to, you know, live with integrity. I realized what Galatians 1:10 says, where why am I going to concern myself with with what a man has to say? And I don't mean man like male, I mean human. Why am I going to concern myself with that? I need to concern myself with, is God pleased with me? And I'm not talking about pleased in the sense of earning pleasure. I'm talking about, is my life, am I living my life the way that God designed me to live it? Because it is that way of living that I will shine the most. And if I want that for myself and I want that for you, is that not what God wants for us? I had spent so much energy managing other people's opinions, managing what they thought of me, trying to earn their affection, their acceptance, feeling like I belong with them, trying to fit in boxes that God had never designed for me. I'm writing about this in my new book. I am a weirdo. I've always been a weirdo. I've never felt like I belong. And I always thought that that was a negative thing. Until recently, as I've been writing this book, I've come to realize that being a weirdo is a gift. It is a gift I have been given because it's prevented me from shoving myself into boxes that I don't belong, because I don't belong in any box. That's why I feel like I don't belong. I don't, like, even in the Christian circles, you have the charismatics and the Pentecostals and the Methodists and the Lutherans, and I love them all. And I could literally go to every single church, including a Catholic church. But at the same time, I don't fit there because there's things that I don't agree about them all. I appreciate them all. It's just like translations of the Bible. I appreciate them all. They all have something valuable, but there's things I don't like about it. And it's just like me. There's things about me you're going to like, you're going to love. And there's things about me that you're not going to. And we're all like that. But isn't that the beauty? The goal is not uniformity, it's unity. And I just love diversity. I've always loved diversity of all things. I feel like that word has just been hijacked by culture, but I'm using diversity in the sense of what it is. I love diversity, diversity of everything and of thought. It's just a beautiful thing when you can express yourself and be yourself without condemning another. And I'm not going to use the word judging, because we don't use the word judging correctly. It's okay to judge. It's not okay to condemn. And we use those two words interchangeably. And I know I'm going off on a lot of tangents, but it's all connected. So when I can express my thought, my opinion, my belief with you without condemning you, if you believe or think differently, it opens the door for understanding, and it allows me to be authentically me and you to be authentically you. And in that space, it allows us to grow. It allows us to live with integrity, because now we don't have to hide. We don't have to pretend, because we have that openness and that understanding. You know, integrity looks a lot more ordinary than we imagine. It's controversial. returning the shopping cart instead of leaving it in the middle of a parking spot. Pet peeve of mine. I always return the shopping cart. My husband only does it now because he knows that I don't like it when we do it. I think it's rude. Integrity is admitting when you've been wrong. Oh boy, have I been wrong so many times. And there's times where I've said something even on social media and I've come back and said, "Hey, I believe this way. I thought this way at one point, but I don't think that way anymore." And maybe I'm going to change again. I don't know. But yeah, I was wrong. That's okay. Integrity looks like apologizing without making an excuse for why you did it. And listen, there's a time and place for you to explain your actions, for you to be able to clarify your motives. I'm not saying you can't do that, but it should never be an excuse for why you did what you did, because then it's not really an apology. You know, integrity looks like speaking kindly about someone who's not in the room. If you speak ill of your friend behind their back to another friend, you're probably doing to that other friend as well. And if you can't say it to their face, you for sure shouldn't be saying it behind their back. That's gossip. Gossip isn't just lying about someone. Gossip is when there's ill will towards someone, or you're trying to turn someone away from someone else. So if you can't say it in front of the person, you shouldn't be saying it behind their back. Integrity is following through on what you said you were going to do. There's times where life happens. Like my friend today, she was working. I've had to do that too. Like I have a full-time job. So if I make a plan in the middle of the day and then I get caught up and I have to go to a work meeting, I have to go to a work meeting. Like there's priorities that we have. So I'm not talking about that, but chronically not following through where your word doesn't have value. That's a problem. We need to have integrity. Treating a waitress or a janitor or a store worker with the same kind of kindness that you would show to a high level celebrity type of person. If you're going to treat people who have certain professions or do certain work lesser than you would someone of a leadership position, that's not right. You want to know why? Because we're all human. Listen, I respect roles. I absolutely respect roles. Okay? There is honor that should come with a role. But every human deserves respect and honor. And I will tell you, even in my place where I work, there's people who are afraid of some of our leaders. I've never been afraid. I've always our leaders, in my experience, our leaders are some of the kindest and most gracious people. They're normal people. They love sharing ideas. And when we treat them like we can't say anything or you need to be careful, I just feel like it's so wait, what's the word? Dehumanizing. I don't know why that sounded weird to me. It's so dehumanizing. You're dehumanizing them. And I think we need to have a little bit more honor and a respect for them as humans, to know like, hey, they're just people like us and they're probably in that role for a reason. And when you realize how kind and nice, I'm not saying every leader, because there are leaders who they're not leaders. Okay. They're managers or whatever. Leaders don't need a title. They're just leaders, you know, but it's those little moments that reveal what's happening in our hearts. So there's something that I don't want you to miss, because integrity is not about pretending that you have it all together. It's not pretending that you're someone else. Based on everything that I've told you, that's what I don't want you to miss. It's about being authentically you. It's not about being positive. And again, this is not about people pleasing. Be you. Sometimes it's, you know, I was wrong, or I'm struggling. I need help. It, we have to stop this image management, this people pleasing, because it doesn't allow us to show up in the world and shine brightly. People pleasing dims our light. It's like putting a lampshade, not even a lampshade, because a lampshade, yeah, like it diffuses the light. We don't want to diffuse the light. We want you to shine bright and be focused. So, how do we actually grow in integrity? Again, as I said at the top, I don't think it's by you trying harder. I, I personally don't think that works. What I do think helps is to slow down. And next time you're in a room or you're with a group of people, just slow down enough to ask yourself, are you changing who you are depending based on who's in the room? I just want you to notice it. I don't want you to judge it. I don't want you to condemn yourself or beat yourself up about it. I just want you to notice it and be aware and ask yourself, why did I feel the need to become someone different in this space? What am I so afraid of? What would it look like if I was just simply myself? You know, God created you to be this woman who is enough. He made you in his image. What more could you possibly need or have? You don't have to become someone else to be loved. You don't have to earn your place. You don't have to try and fit in. You don't have to perform for God or for people. If you don't have to perform for God, why do we think we need to perform for people? Like, think about it. You don't have to. You simply just have to be more of yourself. And listen, this is not a, if you're someone who has, like, I've heard people, they have attitudes and they're like, that's just my personality. That's just who I am. You have to accept me for who I am. That is not what I'm talking about. You are made in the image and likeness of God. So if who you are reflects his image, maybe in a unique way, but reflects his image in kindness, love, peace, patience, long suffering, all the fruit of the Spirit. 1 Corinthians 13. That's how you're going to shine. That's how you're going to be fully yourself. That's your authentic version of you. And if you're not the kindest person, hey, no condemnation, awareness. This is who God wants me to be. This is who I'm going to be. And I don't have to try to be kind. I am kind because I'm made in the image of God. And maybe we have to do some exploration to figure out why we're not kind. Fine. There is that process. I've gone through that process. But the important key is the revelation that you are made in his image and likeness. I want to leave you with a challenge because I like to give you practical things. And just one, I want you to pay attention to those moments when you're tempted to perform, to edit yourself, to dampen yourself, to shrink who you are, to pretend, to hide. And instead, I want you to choose authenticity, to choose alignment. Be who God created you to be. Choose to let your words, your thoughts, your actions tell the same story. Because, you know, I learned this from Ford Taylor and it just hit home for me so much and it made so much sense. Anxiety and depression live in the space between what you say you believe and what you actually believe. There's a fragmentation. Integrity is lacking. Again, no condemnation. Awareness is key. So if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling anxious, there's something about what you believe that isn't matching what you think you believe. Because what you say you believe isn't always what you actually believe. I've had to question myself on numerous things at times when I was feeling anxious. It's important to do that because it helps us stay and live in integrity, to make sure that everything aligns: our words, our life, our actions, our beliefs. That's integrity. It's wholeness. And when we live from that place, it doesn't just change her own life, it gives permission for everyone in her life to live that way too, to live with integrity. When you are authentically yourself and don't condemn others for being authentically themselves, they're going to be free the same way you are free. It's powerful. Imagine if we could all live that way. It would be such a beautiful thing. So that's your challenge for the week. Super simple. Catch yourself. Am I holding back? Am I pretending? Why am I pretending? What would happen if I was truly myself? And so what if I'm rejected by so and so person? But you know what I've learned in this life of mine? A lot of times the rejection I'm afraid of that has caused me to people please and do things that I didn't want to do or pretend to be a certain way was just an assumption made up in my head. And when I was fully myself, I wasn't rejected. I was embraced. I was loved most of the time. So the rejection is all in our head. And sometimes it's because we are judging others how we judge. On the Sermon on the Mount, everyone loves to quote the verse that says, "Do not judge." But there's more to that. Do not judge, for the degree in which you judge, you will be judged. And sometimes that return of judgment isn't from another person, it's from you, because you will judge yourself the same way you judge other people. I learned this when I had that revelation of love and I was going through my tough situation. I learned this because I used to think that my mother judged me a certain way or expected something of me. And when I finally came clean to my mom about what was going on in my life, I thought that I was going to be met with, "I told you so's," and all this stuff. And that's not what happened. And it was a huge lesson to me because I assumed something that was so wrong and it impacted my life so deeply. And it caused me to make decisions that I would not have made if I had known that my mother would have accepted me. So it was a really big lesson. Integrity is so important because when you live with integrity, you will live a better quality of life. You will be free. It's the only way you can wake up every day excited for life, which you guys know that's what I'm about. Got to love your life. You know, the Bible talks about losing your life. Yeah, you lose your life of ego, because when you learn to live the life God created for you and you let go of the life you think you should live, but you live the life that God created for you, you're going to love your life. Your quality of life is going to be so much better. So that's what I want to leave with you guys with integrity. I didn't think I was going to go this long, but obviously this is something that I'm very passionate about, changed my life so much. And I just wanted to share that revelation with you. And I hope that it blesses you and I hope that it helps you. And again, no judgment, no judgment. Stop judging yourself. Stop. Oh my gosh, I failed here. I failed there. Listen, today is what matters. Moving forward is what matters. You hear this, you've gained it, you can accept it, and now you can grow. And that's all you can, that's all God needs from you. Like, let it go, let it go, give it to Him, lean into Him, and allow Him to show you who He is so that you can learn who you are. And I can tell you that you are loved, you are accepted, you belong, you matter, you are important, you are the light of the world because you are in Him and He is in you. and he created you in his image, and he is light. Therefore, you are light. And let your light shine, sister. Let it shine. Let your light shine. Don't dim it for anybody, because no one in this world deserves your light to be dimmed. There are people who are going to try to get you to dim your light. They don't even deserve for you to dim your light. They deserve for your light to shine so brightly, because maybe your light will change something in their life. So you keep shining. You keep shining, because the light that you have to give isn't yours. It's God. It doesn't belong to you. It's not because of anything that you've done. That light that you have isn't because of anything that you've done. It's just the way you live and who you are shines the light that God has given you. We love because he first loved us. Our light shines because he was light and he made us light as well. So live with integrity, because it is like a laser. It shines this poignant light, leads the way, is unashamed, and is not dim. So let your light shine, sister. Let it shine, because I know that I need your light. So at least for me, like, let your light shine, because I need your light to shine. All right, ladies, I love you guys so much. I'm thankful that you're here. I'm so glad that you're back listening. Don't forget to follow us to make sure that you don't miss an episode. If you're watching this on YouTube, then make sure that you're subscribed, because the Inner Image podcast is new on YouTube, so we don't have a lot of subscribers. So make sure that you do that, because it does help spread the word, and make sure that other women who are dimming their light get to hear this message so they don't dim their light. If you're on one of the podcast apps, make sure that you've followed us, comment, like. Those are all easy and free ways for you to help us keep this podcast going. So until next time, let your light shine.